All right, welcome everybody. This is Barney Kunze. We are here live and we're on the air and it's hockey night tonight. Just kidding. I don't know. Maybe it's not hockey night, but that's if anybody knows Stompin' Tom Connors, that was the saying, one of his songs. Hello out there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight. And it always puts a smile on my face. So if you want to put a smile on your face, you can just watch Barney have fun with himself on a Facebook Live, making fun of certain things that I like to say. But all kidding aside, tonight is a very important call. Of course, if you are here live, I would absolutely love for you to give us some interaction and engagement and give us a hashtag live, and or you could just put, I'm tuning in live and I'm tuning in live from Timbuktu, California, or wherever, or somewhere in Canada. But long story short, I first of all want to tell you that we are gearing up for our 6th annual summit. I didn't know what was going to happen when we first started this YL Success Summit way back in 2015, but we've been able to successfully manage and pull off 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 for number 5. And then now we're getting ready for 2020. So every week for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to have a new guest, a new presenter on every week. And you just have to watch out for your email because it really just depends on their schedules, and with everybody being busy and doing their thing, it just, I might not know far in advance. So watch out on our Facebook page, watch out for your emails, and we're going to be going live every week to just kind of give you some more really great free training and content as we gear up for our 6th summit. Now, the other thing for right now that you can note, I'll put the link so you guys can register later for the summit, but I'll send you an email about it. For right now, all you need to know is that if you're on our email list, you'll get notified. But the summit is scheduled for November 1st through until the 10th, okay? So that's going to be 10 days. It's going to be really awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. So tonight, I have one of our presenters, Ryan Watson, who's going to be sharing some information with us about something I think is really important. Ryan was on a couple months ago, and we had some really good interaction and discussions around just emotions and managing emotions. And so we put the title on this tonight called Emotional Rescue, because Ryan has a training that's going to be coming up here in a few weeks. And I said, dude, this is something that I really strongly believe in and highly encourage you guys to check out, because if you don't get your mind right and keep your mind right, life can be very challenging. And Ryan's practically spends a majority of his day coaching clients and helping them kind of sort their thing out. And he's also the co-author, if for whatever reason you don't know Ryan, co-author of the book, The Miracle of Essential Oils. And it's an amazing book, and it's, I don't know how many copies it's sold, but either way, it's an amazing book. And I'm gonna bring in Ryan here. So I just wanted to tell you a couple things, and go ahead and tag anybody that you would like, that you think, hey, you really would benefit in watching this. And just note that the replay is going to be on our Facebook page. Eventually it'll be up on our YouTube channel. But it's always going to be here, okay? So wherever you are in the world, I hope you guys are doing great, and I'm going to click this magical button, and it's going to bring Ryan sliding in right into the feed here in about 3 seconds. All right, you're here, and I'm just unmuted you now, so welcome, officially welcome.
Thank you.
So how's life down wherever you are?
Well, I need you to do that hockey theme again. Come on, one more time.
Hello out there. We're on the air. It's hockey night tonight.
That's it. Yeah. So I'm a huge Dallas Stars fan. So, of course, living in Texas, Dallas is not, it's Texas. It's not far. It's 6 hours away. It's not a big deal, We're 4 hours from anywhere up here. We make that joke. But anyway, Stars made it to the Stanley Cup playoffs last night. So, nice. Go Stars. But
it is. So maybe I was right. Maybe there is hockey. I'm completely tuned out. People are like, hey, you're Canadian. What's your favorite team? The Leafs? Or I'm like, I don't know. I like hockey. I grew up playing hockey, but my parents took me out early. The story that I tell myself is I was so good that I really made all the other players feel bad about themselves because I was so good. The real story was that we lived in a farm, and it just wasn't really conducive for me to continue to play hockey. But anyways, I do like hockey.
I had the same problem.
Yeah. The That's just at least what I remember. But all kidding aside, I want to jump in to get into some like nitty gritty stuff, because first and foremost, guys, we're going to be live for about an hour. And so get comfortable if you're wherever you're at. Keep your, if you can't watch, you're going to really miss out on our wonderful, amazing faces. But if you can, then awesome. But, Ryan, there's a lot going on, right? And I think that the work that you do is really important and valuable and impactful. We talked about this a few months ago, and you had mentioned that this training was coming, but then things just kind of kept happening. Like you were at the lake and broke your arm. And so it's healing up. It looks like it's pretty good. But I know that there was a lot of interest in this. And I think that, this is something that, just so you guys know, Ryan has a training coming up in about 2 weeks. And it's called Emotional Rescue. And it's a 4-part training series. So we're going to talk about that at the end, and we can share with you a link so you can join it and get ready to rock and roll, because I'm going to be participating as well. Because I consider myself a student of life. I'm always learning. And so can you actually just, if we get into the nitty gritty, can you just give us a brief synopsis of like who you are, what you do, because some people might not even know. So just for those that are like, I know this crazy bald-headed guy from Canada that never stops talking, but who is this other guy that's on here? Just give us a brief synopsis, and let's get right into some nitty-gritty details. And while Ryan is talking, if you guys have any questions for Ryan about anything emotions related, go ahead and post them down in the comments, and then we'll come back to him and answer your questions for you, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks, Barney. Like Barney said, my name is Ryan Watson. I live in Amarillo, Texas. And wow, that puts me full screen. Sorry, that kind of caught my attention. And I am a psychotherapist. And so I do primarily neurofeedback throughout the day, which got my interest. Some of you guys, if I show this, you may see this. This piqued my interest. So everyone has a story with essential oils. I have my story as well, but basically I was up here doing talk therapy, doing counseling with folks in a private practice setting, and my sister ran across essential oils, and that began my journey with, oh my gosh, this changed my world. And so I wanted to figure out from a brain perspective what was going on with these. There's phenols, there's esters, there's aldehydes, there's all those different things going on in a bottle, but yet the changes that I personally experienced and the journey that it set me on for the next 8 years of overcoming the trauma in my own past. I don't talk a lot about my own traumas in my past, but I'm going to get into that a little bit in the series because they're pretty in depth. And a lot of people are like, oh, wow, I don't have the PTSD from the military. This is the book that Jason and I wrote, but mine's going to have trauma that, the average everyday person's going to relate with. We're going to talk about, what happens with addictions and how do addictions start? Why does stress? What is the new definitions of stress, even with some of the crazy things going on in this world? What are we redefining stress as? And better yet, who all is going to be affected by stress? And it's fairly shocking, guys. But to make a long story short, basically, I got involved with Young Living. I was doing this stuff. It changed my life. I had an experience like most of you. That's why you're here. It's why you're doing what you're doing. That's why you're passionate. And so, sorry, I'm seeing the comments. And so basically, in all of that, I wanted to know more. And so I started doing neurofeedback. It's an EEG. We look at the map to see what's going on within the brain and how it's affecting what. I'm going to talk more about the Emotional Rescue series about neurocompensatory factorization now. I know it's a serious word, but it's really simple. We'll break that down. We'll go into a little bit more detail about, what happens in the oils. And I'm going to show you some different things about the raindrop. I have created my own emotional release. I was trained in care. I've been trained twice, but I never went through and fully got certified. I have only the best things to say about care. That is an awesome program. Dr. Stewart, he got that thing going, and now they're carrying it, and it is phenomenal. And I am so grateful to have that experience. But being in an office, there are certain things every day that I needed to make my own just for myself. And a lot of people are like, Ryan, how do you do this? What do you do? I mean, people come and they're just fascinated. I do an intensive. It's a reconnect intensive. They spend 4 days with me. And y'all, it is 4 days. It is jam-packed. There's not a boring minute. We look at the eyes, we go over oils, we look at the brain, we do all kinds of different analysis. Any blood work that is present that a person has over the past, year or so, we look at, we talk about, and that's another big one we can do. We can look at coaching, health coaching in the future as well, because when you get blood work from your doctor, what does that mean? When you see things like MCV or MCVC, or what is glucose levels? I would love to educate you guys on that if there's an interest for that, because what's healthy range? Homeocysteine. What do you need to know about that? How does homeocysteine even affect distress? But what is homeocysteine a predictor in, and what are the ramifications for lower high levels? So there's a lot of different things, and being in the brain in that world, that is one thing that I am extremely interested in, because when I see a brain not able to shift or change, I'm looking different. Science can only measure what it can see. And so that is something that it can see, but it can't measure the spiritual side of itself as easy. Okay. There's a lot that could be said about that. There's some other things that work to measure some of those things, but that's for another day and another time. So those would be also some interesting topics in healthing and education that, hey, I've got these numbers. I don't know what they mean. My doctor didn't really go over them with me because he's busy. He's got a lot of people coming in the office. He looks at them. He looks at their range. I kind of look at them from, hey, what's an optimal range? Because I'm here to tell you, mine, when I first got mine were not even in the reference range. And so I had to do a lot of work on that to get them back in the reference range. What was happening with me? What was going on? But better yet, what was really causing them to come out of the reference range? Was it that I needed supplementation, or was it an emotional issue, or was it a toxicity? Those were all things that I was battling with. That was about 4 years ago. And so it's been a fun learning process. And I don't know why here recently, but I've decided, well, I guess I'm going to go back. I was pre-med in college. I went to Texas Tech University. I graduated with my master's in educational psychology in 2005. And I was pre-med in undergrad there, and I just kind of got overwhelmed with microbiology and all the different things. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to drop out. I really want to help people, but I really didn't want to know what I wanted to do. I was an EMT, by the way. I'd taken my EMT classes when I was a senior in high school. And I didn't really enjoy that. That was pretty traumatic. Our first responders are phenomenal. They do an amazing job. And I realized I had my own traumas from doing some of that as well, because sometimes you come up on situations that, well, they just are what they are, and they're difficult. And so being 19, I had no idea what I was getting into. And so I dropped that, went in, got my bachelor's in some, well, I got a bachelor's degree, and then I went on to get my master's in ed psych. So now I'm actually going back. I'm taking ANP1, and I'm taking microbiology right now. So, I don't, it's totally different going back to school at 40. I'll go ahead and share my age, and the gray hairs give it away as well. But going back to school at 40 with 2 kids and a wife is definitely different than going back to school at 20. But nonetheless, I've got a plan. I've got some goals set for that, and there's a reason for that. So I'll hopefully in a couple years there will be some updates on that and some things changing. But anyway, on that, I currently own and operate Wilson. I'm here in Amarillo, Texas, and I have created the PTSD brochure, Hope for PTSD. You can get that through Growing Healthy Homes, guys. Maybe Barney can throw up a link there in that description for Growing Healthy Homes in a minute. And Miracle of Essential Oils. And so in 2014, I believe, it was the year that the Freedom Sleep Collection came out at convention. Gary Young Living, there had been some things shifting in 13. I believe it was 13. Don't hold me to that, guys. If I'm wrong on the dates, I apologize. Feels like it was yesterday. Things were shifting, and there was a huge movement in PTSD with veterans, and it was Gary was very passionate about that area. And if you ever heard him speak or hear about that, you definitely can remember seeing his passion in that area. So he was driven and motivated. And so he came out with the Freedom Kit. And this is actually one that I got that day. So anyway, I haven't used it very much. People always ask me, do you use the kit much? And I said, well, do you have one? And they tell me no. And I said, okay, Well, that's why I don't use it a whole lot because they've been out of stock. Not no bashes, just out of stock. But freedom, and I'm opening it, and it's full literally as I sit here and open it. But I've loved this one, and a lot of people ask me, what should I do with it? Well, what I'm doing right here, it's very simple. You just get it on. Freedom. So that's the topic, because what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to dive into the material a little bit. I think you've got enough about me, kind of what I've done. If you want some of those resources, great, I would appreciate it. I'm going to be coming out with some new resources before too long because, we're always, Barney said, we're a student of life. We're constantly growing and moving and shifting. Dr. Carolyn Mine has been a huge inspiration to me. I can name several folks my Young Living upline, my team, huge. Just so many people have been so influential in my life. I can't thank everyone, but anyway, constantly learning, constantly shifting, and in that process, in that journey, if you're open. Now we'll talk about different spiritual issues that can stop us from being open, and what stops us from learning. Is it a spiritual issue? Is it a cognitive issue? Okay, and there's a difference because there are some things in the medical field we call diseases. There's some things in the field we call syndromes. What's the difference? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, too. The main thing that I want to walk away with, the emotional rescue is designed to help show you in an easy, understandable way that you can have a huge impact on your emotional well-being. So let's talk about this for a minute. Harmonics, scales, frequencies. Everything is in motion. So voltage, cells have voltage, electricity. It's movement. It's power. So do emotions. And emotions, your hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. Your adrenals sit right above your kidneys, adrenals above kidney. They play a huge part in sex hormones, things like that. They also hormones, your thyroid right here. The hypothalamus is kind of the center that gets everything jump started and kind of creates signals. So in the EEG, when we look at Loretta, we can also kind of look subsurface a little bit in the voxels and the pixelation and kind of see what's going on where. And how does that regulate within different states of being, whether you're thinking, whether you're feeling. Can you think and feel at the same time? Somebody post that over there in the comments. Can you think and feel at the same time? I'm curious to see who's got some thoughts on that, because I ask folks that all the time. One of the biggest things that I've noticed in the past 6 months, okay, do the math. In the past 6 months, we've been talking about, can you think and feel at the same time? Because if you can, well, that means something. And if you can't, that means something. Message. Could totally use one with all the oils. Massage. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that too. I haven't seen any posts, so I'll move on just for time's sake. I'm slowly waiting. I guess they've gone. Barney's
Are you still there?
I am.
Okay. Yeah, no, I wasn't sure if you saw that I just put this in from Shirley. She just said, pardon me if I messed you up. I said massage. I'm like, I could use one right now with all the oils. But she just said that I so appreciate your PTSD brochure. I'm a massage therapist and share it with all of my clients. So I put the link up if you guys would like to. I think it was only $9 for a pack of flyers there. That's pretty sweet. And then did you say you saw a comment about thinking and feeling at the same time? I think that's where you were going there.
Yes, and Susan just responded. She put yes. And so I was waiting on a few responses to come in there for a minute, because people often think that you can feel and think at the same time. The actual answer is no. Try to breathe in and talk at the same time. I have to pause to breathe in. I can't do it. We're designed that way for a reason. So when certain stressors overwhelm us, do you think we move out of our feeling world and into our cognitive world, or do we stay in our feeling world? Now, I want this to be a little interactive, you guys. I'm trying to get y'all involved somehow. I know there may be a slight delay in the response, but actually can't think and feel at the same time.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to read fast. Yeah, no responses. Yeah, the responses are minimal. That's okay. We'll move on. You can't think and feel at the same time.
I was just going to say
Go ahead, Barney.
no, I was just going to say that because they do sometimes they do sometimes take a little while. I know Susan says no responses question mark. So yeah, sometimes there's the delay, and then it makes it very fun for us as the when we're on live if we don't see them. So we're looking through the comments. I can see Susan, Mindy, and Shirley have made a post or commented. But the one thing you said there about that as an example. So while we're waiting for a couple more to come through, can you expand on that briefly on the like? I mean, because I did that, I'm like, I was going to be like, oh.
Yeah, I was watching you
breathe in at the same time, and I never really actually thought about that to be like, oh, well, maybe I could do it at the same time. Now that I thought about thinking to feel at the same time, but so where were you kind of going with that? That it's if you're feeling something, you're not thinking, or if you're thinking, you're not feeling, and vice versa. Is that kind of what you were getting at?
That's right. With a scourge, can we call it that? Just for fun time, I'm going to move some of my oils around a little bit. So one of the biggest things that people have been coming in with lately is just stress. I'm just stressed. I can't relax. I'm having a hard time being clear. I'm cloudy. I can't think. Brain fog, so to speak. And so I'm like, okay, so let's look at this for a minute. How are you sleeping? Well, I can't go to sleep. And when I do wake up, I'm still tired. Okay, so when the brain gets into certain rhythms and frequencies, let's look at the higher end frequencies, gamma and beta. So gamma is a great response frequency when you want those aha moments, so to speak. Beta, there's high beta and beta. I don't want to go into the detail. We're going to get into that a little bit more in the emotional rescue stuff. But there's beta and high beta. High beta is that emotional stress response, feeling overwhelmed. Now, there's a difference between, hey, I've got a webinar with Barney tonight in front of folks. I need to have everything prepared and ready. But like, oh my gosh, I can't do this in front of these people. And you shut down. So there's a difference in stress. High beta is that stress response where we kind of shut down. And so I'm talking to a kid today, and he's like, I don't like talking about my feelings, Ryan. I don't want to do it. I'm like, cool, let's do it. The whole thing is, he needed something when he was young, and he wasn't able to get it. The biggest thing that causes issues with fear is separation. We'll talk about that more in the emotional rescue stuff, but I'm kind of basically laying a foundation for you real quick, Barney.
Yeah.
Because when we have separation in our world, we're going to adopt fear because we're not going to get our basic needs met. We'll talk about what are some basic needs that you want, what are some basic needs that you need, that you have to have, and if you don't get them, what happens. But basically, when fear begins to kick in, we go into our cognitive state. We get out of our emotional state, we stay in our head. Well, that's when we try to think things through. You're going to develop things like ulcer from stress because you can't think and feel at the same time. When the two don't have balance or homeostasis, there's going to be an issue. So the emotions are trying to give you a signal, and you're going, I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to stay in my head. Just stay there. It's safe. It's easy, instead of actually processing and dealing with that. And so, there's numerous ways that we're going to talk about how do you begin to break some of this down. When you feel like that it's built up so much, it's overwhelming, that it's become so stressful that you don't even know where to start. It's so confused, it's overwhelming, and here's some simple basic tools, because at that point the body has taken over. The body only knows what the body knows. Does your brain control you, or do you control your brain? That's what I'm getting at here. That's the question. And so if the brain is in control and you feel like you've lost control, this is exactly where you need to be. You need to be signing up for this class. You need to get involved, because we're going to go over some very simplistic steps on how you regain control of your body. And I've outlined some of this stuff in in the book, because especially with things like that, how do you regain control, what you do. And guys, doesn't necessarily have to be rocket science stuff. It can be fairly basic and simple, but it all starts with your belief, and it all starts with your faith to move forward and your belief in doing it. Did you have a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, no, I was just going to let you keep going on that, but I think that's, and I'm changing the screen there a bit. So I think, yeah, just on the, like that right there of the thinking and feeling side of being able to be aware of that and then having some actionable, like when you have something that comes up that elicits a certain feeling, that to me, that reminds me of, or makes me think about the reacting versus responding. Um, and that if there's something that happens, it's you can react really quick instead of like kind of taking a step back, 10 second rule before you respond. I've had that happen before too, and so that made me think about that when you were talking about thinking, not being able to think and feel at the same time. Um, and then, and I think this is Cynthia was talking about this, saying I believe you can work on shortening the response between them, but maybe there was something else you were talking about shortening the response about something.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand exactly what she means by that.
I think it was a comment to something that you said about just shortening the
Okay.
response. And the old saying, "But don't give me problems, give me solutions." And I think, I think you're right, Cynthia, and I think that's why I I'm interested myself to learn from you on that during the class because I've been coaching professionally for I don't know 18 years in personal training, but then in coaching, consulting, marketing, other ways, and it's just there's things that come up, but then also myself. I remember my coach said to me that you can't take anybody anywhere you haven't been yourself. And so the more that you work on yourself and do this work, I think that for everybody listening can be like, okay, well, these are things that you can learn, not just for yourself, but for your family, for your team members, so that you can stay more balanced because there's a lot going on. And I don't know why, well, okay, I know why, but we won't get into it, but why it just feels that much more like that there's just more intensity with things going on. And my observation of humanity, but just on social media and off social media and watching people from my office and talking to people is that there's this feeling of just losing control. And I think that if you can't keep your emotions intact and keep yourself grounded, it's very easy to slip out of control. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, that's what you spend the majority of your time doing on a daily basis with people.
Yeah, well, I watch a lot of squiggly lines on a screen, Barney.
Do you?
Um, that's what I spend a lot of time doing because that's the symphony of the brain. That tells me, hey, you're telling me something, but your brain is telling me a different story. The body will never lie. When you learn to understand what the body is telling you, it will tell you the truth every time. And so that's what and I'll list a story of where they're at in their mind. And so I'm going to begin teaching a little bit of this because once you see it and you come and you get involved in emotional rescue and you kind of see how when I'm in the office and I'm working someone to get to the core of that issue, not just, hey, we've got some issues with stress over here, but wait a minute, hold on. This is stemming from this, which is causing this, which has led to this. Let me give you a case study real quick. I'm working with a type 1 diabetic. Type 1, right? Everybody would agree. Science tells us, hey, type 1 diabetes is incurable. Well, this individual has a Dexcom system on, and so we can monitor blood sugar real time. And blood sugar ranges, oh, geez, guys. It can be anywhere from 200 to 350 on average. Individuals going through some stress right now. Life is turbulent, but coming in, and so we're talking about the past. We're looking at, hey, there. So, side note, the core issue is self-hatred, rejection. Because if you get rejected enough, Remember the whole separation thing that I talked about a minute ago? We're going to go into more depth on separation, what that actually means, because I know it sounds simple right now, and you're going, that sounds a little simplistic. But trust me, once we go into detail, you're going to be like, wow, that's it, it's simple, but it's deep. And a lot of people feel and find the truth that's in that from their unmet needs. And so this individual has numerous unmet needs, and the rejection is immense, which has changed the personality and the character of the person. And we'll get into how some of these things come about and kind of some of that stuff. I mean, I'm going to try to jam pack as much as I can in 4 weeks, y'all. It's going to be intense, but it'll be fun. And I think you'll walk away with learning some stuff. But the other day, after the session with the individual calls and says, hey, my blood sugar this morning was at like 175. And we did a lot of affirmations, emotional, spiritual work. Blood sugar dropped down to 125. So, guys, if you understand what I'm telling you there was no insulin taken, okay? There was no food taken. There was nothing. It was just a simple change in stress levels and making a choice and choosing to love instead of feeling all the negative things. And that's where it all starts. Making that first step, that choice, it's part of that roadmap that begins. And, from here, we want to make these basic steps, keep them real, and keep looking and keep growing from there.
Okay, cool. Before you continue on and that you're going to go more in depth, you're talking about the case study. So just to summarize that, because I actually wanted to pull this up. For those of you who came on a little bit later into the call, depending on when you received the email, or just when you saw this going live, we're going through and discussing this, training that's coming up, but Ryan's going into some more depth and detail on this concept of emotional rescue. So I put a link in there where you guys, if you're interested, he's doing a class in the next 2 weeks. The perfect timing if you want to do that before the summit. Get yourself all emotionally rescued before the summit. So you can see that there. But Ryan, before you go into the more of the detail after that case study, I want to pull up. I have your flyer here, so we can show people. Can you just tell me the summary of the case study? Was that you had this patient that was in, and it was just one thing that changed in his emotional state that made his blood sugar drop. Did I hear that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So then
all based on emotion.
So then how do you walk people back up out of that? Or how can people kind of, first know that that's happening, and how can they kind of get themselves back? Or is that like a big, maybe a little bit pretty in-depth question?
Well, it's probably a little bit beyond the scope of what we're doing here tonight for the time's concerns, because I want to be respectful of y'all's time, but I've also got to go pick up a kiddo here in a minute. And so, but no, there is a simplistic way to do that. What I tell most people want to make it, well, let me back up a minute. It's not that we want to make excuses. There is a stigma to mental health. I don't want to deal with what I feel. I just don't want to go there. I mean, I don't know how many times in a day I hear that. I don't want to do this. Well, why did you call? Why did you set up an appointment? Or why are we on this Skype meeting? Well, somebody so-and-so, and I'm going, hold on. You've got to commit to be here. Just like what you were saying. Barney, if they're not committed in the game, that's the first thing. You've got to make a choice to play.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to play, then, why should I? But once people make that commitment to play, that makes a huge shift, a huge change. And that really sets the stage for them to make that commitment to themselves, to their families. Because, guys, when you make that commitment, you're going to impact. It's like throwing that rock in the pond. You will affect that whole body of water. You're going to affect everyone that you come around, because you are going to change your perspective. You're going to increase your awareness, and that's going to shift and make a lot of changes for you. Did somebody say something?
No.
Maybe that was just
me listening, and I had the flyer here, and now it's not letting me do it. So let me say something. So it was working, and then I wanted to pull it up to show you guys, and now it's not working. This is technology. But, oh, here we go. I think, let me try it once more. But Roxanne said tapping, in question marks, tapping. So is that something that you work with in your work?
Tapping is phenomenal. In the book, I actually have some charts on tapping. I'm looking. Give me just a second. I've used tapping. I use tapping all the time. You know, the electrical gradient of cells, that's backwards. But well, I don't know, man. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making it look weird. I was trying to show you guys the tapping chart, the meridian chart that I have here in the book, but I couldn't do that very successfully because my camera and everything's backwards. I guess I don't know, but yeah, I do use that. I use breathing. I use HRV, heart rate variability, biofeedback. So it's about gaining information from your body. It's the same thing when Barney's training. We can measure the conductance of muscles, how tense and how tight a muscle is based upon the conductance in the EMG, which is different than the EE, so EMG. So when we learn, autogenetic training is about muscle tensing, muscle relaxing. So tightening a muscle, relaxing a muscle, and that's going to make a huge shift in how that body moves. Now, when you start tapping and you start moving energy or you put in oil, it's going to shift everything else as well. So I like to use multimodal approaches. And so I'm going to kind of go over some of those approaches that I've seen over time that I find have gotten results.
Okay, I've figured it out. I just want to show you guys this because I feel pretty cool about this. All kidding aside, let's hide. Could you still hear me though? Could you guys still hear? Can you hear me now? Okay, so let me just show you one. I'll take myself out for 1 second. And then I'll come back in, and basically there's the flyer. I'll see if I can post it after, but basically this is the training that Ryan's talking about, that he's just kind of giving you guys a sneak peek and going through some things, because I always like to do when we do free trainings, thinking, or like this on Facebook, to go through some really like practical, like tomorrow, this thing that I can try, or I'm now aware of this, so I can expand my understanding of something to be in a better position and control. So there's a link that was put there. Yep.
Control. People will tell me, I overthink everything. My body's in control. I can't control my brain. My brain just goes all the time. Now, if your woman is completely normal, disregard what I'm about to say. I'm totally kidding. The women, though, when we talk about communication, women have a rapport style. Men have a report. We talk about what's going on. We talked about hockey. We reported about hockey games and all that stuff. Women want to talk about how they feel. It's a different style of communication. And so in that, a woman wants to talk about how she's feeling, how she's doing within situations where a guy's reporting on things. And so sometimes it's easy to get all of those boxes, those Chester drawers open, going, and everything. And a guy's like, nope, I only got to have one. Shut that. As to where a woman, it's okay to have them all on. Open, you're touching and feeling everything. We guys know we're pretty simplistic. There's not a whole lot going on up there. Let the jokes fly at that. So in taking control, getting all of those drawers kind of closed, that's where the meditation, mindfulness, meditation aspects all come from. One of the ways you can do that is measuring pulse rate. One of the other ways is through heart rate variability monitors. You can get them on their ear. I also have clinical models for biofeedback where we can track, O2 sats, respiratory rates, EMG patterns, and all of those different things within different body and parts and organs and different things. But anyway, so one of the easiest things you can do, and I shared this on the last Wild Success Summit where I was on, but it's heart rate breathing, heart rate variability, breathing techniques. I'll get that right. Sorry, guys, I apologize. So one of the things in relaxing the central nervous system, when your pulse gets up above 100, Guys, that's not good. That is, there's a whole lot of physiological. We could talk about cortisol. We could talk about a lot of different things that are going to be impacted. How, it's going to have a huge toll on the body. Keep it simple and short. Basically, what you want to do is you want to get that pulse rate 60 to 70 beats per minute. If you can keep it in that range, you're going to be doing awesome. Okay. Now, if you're a heavy duty athlete and you exercise a lot, it may drop down a little bit more, or yours may be lower. So you can adjust the scales accordingly. Because I have a runner, and his heart rate, he runs, it's not uncommon for him to run 4 miles a day, and his heart rate stays in the 80s. It should be probably in the upper 50s-ish. So I always look to see, okay, can we get it dropped down even more? So the more you exercise, sometimes you'll have that diastolic, systolic pressure, and the muscles will be, I don't want to go too far down that. Just adjust it. Just know that. So basically, the average person needs to be 60 to 70 beats per minute. If you can get in that range, that's going to be phenomenal. You'll really start to feel that level of relaxation. You'll have to get that mind shut down. You're going to get out of that high beta state, that high brainwave pattern that we talked about a minute ago. And you're really going to have to kind of gain control of yourself and clear everything out. Now, how do you do that? Glad you asked. It's simple. Breathe into 5, out to 7. Start with lavender, start with lemon, start with peppermint, any of these guys. Just grab one, okay? Just breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the tail end of the exhale is what calms down the central nervous system. So research shows, a mentor of mine, Jack Ginsburg, guys like that do this stuff every day. They work with Olympic athletes and things. What they're showing in their research is that we need to do this for 10 minutes a day, twice a day at least. And this is going to work to begin to reorganize the central nervous system's response. That's going to lower heart rate. That's going to get you out of that sympathetic lock and begin to move you more to that parasympathetic, or also known as fight or flight. So when your pulse is over 100, you are definitely frozen, okay? It's going to be very easy to go into fight or flight once you get over 80. And that's what I begin to tell people. So those are some hard numbers. You can learn a lot by your pulse. You can learn a lot by your blood pressure. It will basically teach you what's going on within the body. And I don't like a lot of distance between the systolic and the diastolic on blood pressure either, for a lot of different reasons, but it'll show you how your adrenals are doing. That's another topic for another time. But go back to your breath. As you breathe in, for me, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to apologize for interrupting, but then I was like, I already interrupted, so I might as well just keep going. So I wanted to say a couple things about heart rate, or pulse rate. So when you said you don't want to have it over 100, you're talking obviously just at rest.
Resting.
Right.
Resting.
Right. And then I jokingly said, unless you're doing burpees or exercising and getting your heart rate over, right? I have an Apple Watch. I like it, but there's a part of me that doesn't like it because of the radiation, the EMF coming from it. But I enjoy it because I like seeing my heart rate. Wake up in the morning, I can see it right away. So I think this is something, just to pause for 1 second, because I know you were going to go into that next transition there of the next phase, and hopefully you remember where you were, was about the systolic and diastolic, the numbers, and you don't want to see that the gap being too big. But I think that's something that, like, waking up in the morning, I would test that without a watch. I would just do the pulse, just check here and like look at my watch or my clock or whatever. And I remember testing stress away, and every single time that I would put it on the night before I go to bed, I would always wake up with a much lower resting heart rate in the morning. And I just think that I feel, and I kind of presume that the majority of us know that, okay, yeah, lavender, like, I feel chilled out and peace and calming and stress away and tranquil and rutavala and these oils that are really calming and relaxing. But I think that's something just to pause, because you're like flying through, going through this at a good rate because you're so excited and into the details. But I just wanted to pause for a second, because I think that if you guys would agree with me for the interaction, put something in the comments, put hallelujah, amen, or something like totally get it, I agree. Because I think that if you just think about what Ryan just said, that knowing that if your heart rate is, or your heart rate or your pulse rate is higher on a regular basis, but you're having issues with anxiety or feeling uncomfortable, unsettled, and all these emotions are coming up, I just wanted to point that out, that you just said something that was really powerful. Taking the oil, we know that they work, but then looking at maybe we can measure and quantify something that's very simple by using different oils and finding which one kind of gets us down into our space. So I just wanted to pause for a second and hit on that, because I think that from my experience humbly as a coach professionally in the fitness world for the last 18 to 20 years, it's something that people don't really always pay attention to. And that's why another reason why I love the oils, I love exercise. So I just love that you said that, because I think that if people can be aware of that, then that's really powerful. And if that's just part of what comes into the training, then that's exciting.
Yeah, and I apologize, Barney. I'm getting some text messages from my wife. Hey, I've got a sick kiddo, so I'm kind of like, oh dang. So I do apologize. Just life happens, guys. I apologize. So yeah, kind of needing to kind of wrap this up a tad. Unfortunately, just life happens, and got to take care of those that we.
You don't have to apologize.
You
do your thing. I honestly feel like that was really good, because I know you were going to go into something with the heart rate. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did anyways.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
Guys, the thing is, hey, come get involved in emotional rescue with us. We're going to go deeper into this. I'm not trying to just throw a sales ad out. I've been setting back on years and years of data, and you're going to get to see some of these compensatory factors. I use the scientific name. It's simple. I'm going to show you just what Barney said. Do these oils change? Do they make a difference in our heart rate? Do they make a difference in the way that our brain functions? You're going to see some of those images. You're going to see some of those things. And I'm going to try to make it as simple as I can. But in some of that, you got to have a foundation to understand what are we actually looking at and what are we seeing. But when you see it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, leave a lasting impression. For me, it's just like this. For a lot of people, those heads at the bottom doesn't mean a thing. When you understand an 8 hertz rhythm frequency brain, that's going to blow your mind what that did. I'm going to explain that to you. We're going to go into some of those things, and it's going to bring that application home for you. And it's going to be like, wow, like, thank you. I've been waiting for this, because when I first saw some of this, guys, I was like, there's no way I can share this. It looks horrible. But the brain has to reorganize all of the chaos. So our emotions have a scale, a frequency scale. Some emotions are really good for us. Some are really bad for us. The bad ones, they have an effect on us at every single cellular level. Every single cellular. Some can even reverse the spin and change the electrical gradient of cells. Okay?
Yep.
Now, if your heart loses voltage, you're dead. We know, we've watched ER, you hear the beep, 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 beep. And what happens? They're shocking them, they're bringing them back. So we have to have certain amounts of voltage. Emotions have a huge part in that voltage level. We're going to talk about that too, okay? But guys, I apologize. I've got to run, unfortunately. Unexpected things happen. That's part of being a dad, right?
Yeah, that's, Forrest Gump. We're all adults here, and hopefully there's no sensitive ears, but best line in Forrest Gump, he's running, and the guy's running beside him, and he jumps in a puddle of mud, and the guy, he grabs his shirt and wipes his face, and there's a smiley face on it, and then the quote says, shit happens.
Yeah, literally.
I just like that. And yeah, anyway, so you got to go, but before you leave, I just want you guys to know that I put the link up here. This is good. This goes directly to Ryan's system for ordering. I just wanted to help him make it simple. These are some things that we wanted to jump on here and start talking about, as you get off with paying attention to your heart rate, using the oils. We know that, okay, I feel good, feel relaxed, but start paying attention to it. Ryan's going to get really geeky on you in this training. It's a 4-part training. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it starts on the 29th and then October the 1st. So it's Tuesday, Thursday, and then the next week, Tuesday, Thursday. And I think that he's being very modest with this. It's $79, or you can do 3 easy payments for $30. So I'm looking at it up here. I was planning on pulling it up for you guys. But the last time we did this, Ryan and I were talking about it. He said, yeah, I wanted to do this. I've been thinking about it. And then just stuff happens. Arm gets broken at the lake and COVID, blah, blah, blah. But here we are. So it's there. If you guys are interested, you can take that link. You can go through and order it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be joining in with them. And it's a live. When we say live, you're doing it on Zoom, not like on Facebook Live or anything, right? Okay.
Right. And it'll be recorded.
Okay. So you'll get the recordings if you can't make them all live, and then 60 minutes, right? 60 minutes like teaching, and then 30 minutes Q&A. So if you guys do have some questions for Ryan, now the other thing is, where can they reach you? Because I know you need to go, but until then, the link's there. But if they have some questions for you, or like, I want to do this, but I'm not sure yet, or whatever, your website, is there an email, or do you want to just send everybody to your website?
Yeah, no, website has email. I have my office phone number. It's 806-418-8900. So you're more than welcome to reach me there at the office.
Hey, that again?
Call me, email me, 806
Yeah.
418-8900. So feel free to call me there at the office. I think I might have told you. Let's go over that one more time. 806-418-8900, because I think I mixed numbers last time. I apologize.
Right.
I just recently moved my office, and so some things have changed. But the website is the same. My email, yes, that's it. There in the bottom. Okay. And, feel free to call the office. Feel free to email me. I do have Facebook. People do message me through Messenger sometimes. Don't always get back to that one very quickly, but email, I usually try to respond fairly quickly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you. Look forward to you. And you're going to be presenting again this year in the summit. So thank you for that. So you guys have something to look forward to. You can wait till the summit, but I wouldn't wait, because I don't think he's going to be going over all of this. I'm going to be joining along with you. And I wanted to jump on here and give you some spotlight, Ryan, because I really believe that the work that you're doing is extremely important. And so you guys have the link there. It's in the comments. You can share it. And Gigi was asking, what times are those dates? What times are the calls on those dates?
6:30 Central Time.
Okay, 6:30 Central. So that's 7:30 Eastern for an hour and a half. There's 4 of them. And if you guys can't make it, then you get the replays anyway. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And great to have you on here, and hope all goes well with your little one. I get that with having 4, soon to be 5. So anyways, I know you got to go. So thanks, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you think Ryan and I did a great job, then you can leave a comment and say, wow, Barney and Ryan, you did an amazing job. Tell your bosses to give you a raise. And if not, then just keep your opinions to yourself, and then we'll all have a great day, okay? And remember that my Stompin' Tom Connors song, hello out there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight. But next 2 weeks from now, pretty much, Ryan's going to be starting that class. So I encourage you guys to jump in. I'm going to be learning along with you. Ryan, thank you so much, and appreciate you. And we'll talk to you soon in the next call, hopefully. Okay.
Thanks, Bonnie. Appreciate you. Y'all have a great night.
See you, everybody. Bye-bye.